and pointed, so that means we live, y'all. Hey, everybody, it's Heather J signing in for the Philly4Horsemen tonight. How y'all doing? Y'all see to my left, my girl, my man, the other manager of the Philly4Horsemen. We are the ladies of the Philly4Horsemen. This is my girl, 1010. 1010, say hi to the people.
Hey everybody, what's going on?
We here tonight because they told us to be.
They told us, they ain't asked.
They didn't ask us that we want to come. They told us that we had to be here tonight. So we showed up because we had to have a show. We here for y'all. Right. All right, so we did our introductions for today. So let me tell you the quote of the day. The quote of the day, we thank Saida Kuwanda. On Instagram, she's Saida Dreams. She sends us our quotes every week, and the quote for today is, "Character is like pregnancy. It cannot be hidden forever." That's an African proverb. How you feel about that, T?
That is correct. A pregnancy cannot be hidden forever. So someone's character at some point, it's going to show. It's going to be revealed, and there's nothing that person can do to hide it anymore.
Basically, if y'all don't know what that means, that basically means if you're a jerk, eventually we'll find out that you're a jerk. If you have a good heart and it's a big heart and that's who you really are, we'll know that that's what you are. But eventually, after a few months, because what you say, about 3 months, 4 months, that's when you start to see that good belly bump?
About 4.
About 4 months in, we'll find out who you really are. All right, T, let's get down with these platforms for this week. Talk to the people.
So, just in case you do not know, you can follow us on all platforms at Facebook at Philly_4Horsemen podcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Philly4Horsemen, TikTok at Philly4Horsemen, and on YouTube at Philly4Horsemen podcast. You can also email us at podcast4horsemen@gmail.com. And if you would like to call in on tonight's show, you can call us at 267-886-0629.
Yes. I'm already looking at the comments because, when we out there, we be yelling because don't nobody read the comments. So I'm looking at the comments already. So, hey, let's give a shout out to YBO. Hey, Star, we love you,
What's
baby.
going on,
Thank you
Star?
for tuning in. And I don't know who this is, but Naya, yo, right back at you. Thank
What's
you for
up?
tuning in on tonight. We appreciate you coming through and seeing us. Philly4Horsemen podcast is screaming yo team. So most likely that's Mr. Pretty Boy Day. Hey Day, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. Anyway, moving on to what's next. We have a special guest tonight. He is not a stranger to the show at all. He's actually one of my favorite people. He and I have still yet to find out if we are related. We might still want to look into that because it ain't that many of us, Yes. So if y'all could give a quick round of applause for our special guest tonight, that is Pastor Brian Jenkins. He is from Chosen 300, and we are so grateful that he came through to stop in, pop in, and have a little chat with the ladies on tonight. Welcome, sir.
Absolutely. We're glad to be here. And listen, I want to thank God for the 4 horsemen and the ladies of the horsemen.
Yes, because you got the ladies tonight.
Yes. Y'all are a lot better to look at, though, I'll tell you that.
Well, I would absolutely agree.
But it really, your organization has been a tremendous blessing. I can tell you that you really symbolize what the meaning of that name is, the 4 horsemen. That you imagine 4 guys riding in and being a savior. And a lot of times, we've needed help at a moment's notice. You guys have jumped in and helped out our homeless mission, helped out even on Christmas Day when most people are with their families. So we celebrate you, your organization, everything that you do. And you've come down to sing for us. And just lit.
Yes, she has blessed everyone with that voice of hers.
I was like, that's my sister. Yes, sir. That's my sister. She a Jenkins.
Yes.
Yeah, but thank you so much for all that you do and being a partner with us in our ministry and also having us on the show.
We appreciate you guys. We love working with you guys. You are doing an awesome work in the city of Philadelphia, and we'll get into that in a minute. As soon as T talks about what's going on around the city. Let's get it, mama.
What's going on? So we are going to talk about the grandmother of Juneteenth, Miss Opal Lee. Miss Opal Lee have received her proclamation from Mr. Sharif Street for recognition of making Juneteenth a federal holiday. Ms. Opal, the one thing she did say is that this fight for freedom, for freedom is not over yet. Freedom is not just for us as Black folks, but freedom is for everyone. And even though slaves were set free back in 1964, we still live in a day where, unfortunately, we're still treated like we're not free. So her fight is not over. She says she will continue to walk. She will continue to talk until it become, I guess, complete. Now, complete, I don't know what complete is or how long it will take for it to become complete. The one thing she did also mention is that it is up to us as the people to also stand forth and push forward for this freedom of Black folks being completely free, because we're not completely free.
Black folks, brown folks, yellow folks, purple folks, all the folks.
Absolutely.
Somebody got to fight and somebody got to stand. They didn't march on Washington for nothing.
So, even though, it started back in 1980, it's not over. We're in 2023, and the fight must continue to go on for our younger generations, because everyone should see where we're living and how we're living in today's time. So with that, we have to do our part. Everyone should find something that they can do to participate in the walks and the talks and anything else that's going on that will help us as a whole and as people in general, not just Blacks.
I absolutely agree. Who?
Pastor Jenkins, you got anything to say about that?
Well, when just talking about justice and the whole sense of the word itself, the reality is that we're still behind in the area of justice. I mean, think about it. I was dealing with a case back in 2012 where the city of Philadelphia tried to ban outdoor meals to the homeless, and it was really an injustice against those that were in poverty. The fact that you can say that one person can eat in a park but another person can't. We led that federal case against the city of Philadelphia to overturn that ban. And actually, if you go to any park in Philadelphia, there's a green sign up there. And if you look closely at the sign, there's a sticker on there that covers a law that says no outdoor serving of food. And so that's our sticker there. And so, you talk about, people think that, well, I can't stand up for justice. I don't know how to stand up for justice. All of us can do our part to stand up against injustice, to make sure that people, whether they're people of color, people of poverty, people that are disenfranchised, receive fair treatment of the law, but then also that have the opportunity to be able to get up and live that American dream that they can live without interference from other people.
All right.
Ms. Jenkins.
Oh, here she go, putting my government out there. Nobody told her to do
You
all
did that already.
I did not. I said my name was Heather J. You missed it.
You said
Anyway,
y'all
anyhow.
might be related.
Yeah, we did. Anyway, anyhow, I pick on her about that all the time because she likes to do that. She knows it gets up under my skin. Anyway, we have another thing that happened in the city. It was actually two things, and I couldn't figure out which one I wanted to talk about. There was a car crash on Monday morning, early Monday morning at Penrose Avenue in South 26th Street, right? The car caught on fire, held up traffic for hours, had, morning rush hour looking 12 ways from crazy. But today, when I happened to be at home trying to fix my hair to get my life together to come on the show, right? I saw the news again about this young man that was shot by the police. Mm-hmm. And that just took me slam out of here, because I said, our title tonight is there hope for our city, or hope for our city? And at this point, it used to be a place where we as brown and Black people felt like everything was against us. This particular young man happens to be Caucasian, and the city is in an uproar. It's just amazing to me. Like, I have seen his face to the point that if I close my eyes right now, I can tell you exactly what he looks like. He has curly brown hair. He has a really, really beautiful smile in the pictures that they shown. But his parents are outraged and want to sue the police, and everybody's like, I just don't understand. But I wake up every single morning for the last 6 months, and one of my babies is dead in the street, and nobody is that excited. So I just wanted to know how y'all feel about that.
Well, I mean, I just had an experience very recently. There was a young man, Tim Robles, wonderful volunteer, served in our ministry, and 29 years old, was killed on a bike when someone struck him at 101 miles an hour on Broad Street.
Jesus.
And I walked through the family through the whole trial, and they gave the young lady 7 years of probation, not a day of jail time. And, you talk about Black lives not mattering. And, when, our young people are killed in the streets and our young men are slaughtered, there's not an uproar. But you have this young Caucasian boy that is killed, and everybody's screaming and kicking and hollering. And I'm not saying that his life is not valuable. His life is valuable. Whether he should have been doing donuts on 95 is a whole other question. But on the same token is that it's not that he should not receive justice, but can we also get the same justice? And that's where, the imbalance is that we don't get the same attention. When our young people were killed, like you said, in the streets, that there is no uproar. But now there's a big uproar because of the fact that you have a young white Caucasian boy that has been killed by the police, and now everybody wants to scream, kick, and holler.
So is the uproar from his parents or is the uproar from our people? Who? Because I didn't see this.
It's a uproar. His parents want to sue the police. His girlfriend has been on there saying how unfair it is. I just don't. My point is, I don't feel like we get the same airtime. We don't get the same attention when our babies are dying in these streets every single solitary day. And he mentioned Black Lives Matter. To me, Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter. That baby he's only 18. He was only 18 years old. So he has an entire life ahead of him to live. White, black, orange, or green, as I said, it doesn't matter. All lives matter. It's just the point of how the world is focusing the attention because his color is different than ours.
And I think the other factor too is that, we don't have all the details of the case.
Right.
But the understanding is that he was doing donuts. He struck an officer.
The officer.
Yeah. And so, I mean.
And the officer shot him.
And then officer shot him. So, we don't know all the particulars. So I'm not going to, sit here and defend the police or, to condemn them for their activity because we don't know all the facts. But on the same token is that if you're doing a criminal act, okay, there is a risk that something bad is going to happen to you.
Absolutely.
But at the same token, is like I said, you have someone that has been killed by a police officer, whether it was just or unjust. The problem that we have is that why are they getting more attention? You have the district attorney coming on premature. And I must say this publicly. I mean, I have challenged with our district attorney's office because the imbalance of how justice is played out is that we have people that are being murdered in the street and are getting slaps on the wrist for committing those murders. And now you have something else is happening, and now you want to automatically condemn the police right away. I'm not here to condemn the police or, like I said, or condone their actions because we don't know all the facts, but to give all this attention. And then when someone of an African-American descent or African-American color deals with the same issue, the attention is not given.
And when Black folks act out because the same attention is not given, then we want to be, we're penalized for that because
They call
now,
us hostile.
and this goes back to me just listening Juneteenth and when she say, when I was speaking that we're not free. We're still not free. They still treat us as if we were slaves. These, to me, I feel like they are afraid of the power that the black folks have. It's a shame that we still live in the time that we live and that we still are being punished for things that happened years ago, decades ago. And that's just the way they still treat us. And I just think they don't, these things happen because they don't feel as though, I look at it as they don't feel as though our lives is just as valuable as the next person, the next race. And because of that, we're not going to get that same justice. We're not going to get that same action. And also, I think as Black folks, when crimes are being done to our people, we don't respond and act and, do the things that Caucasian people are doing, because we know we're not going to get that same help. We're not going to get the same information. We're not going to get the same push. We're not going to get any of that. So we choose to take care of it in our own hands.
Yeah, and I want to also be very careful that, when we define who they are, because of the fact that there are some, like we have a wonderful ministry, Chosen 300, that is interdenominational, interracial, and we have people that are in our ministry that will stand up for justice that are white. And so I want to kind of be very clear when we're talking about we're talking about those who do not provide the same attention and justice for those that are of African American descent or minority descent versus those that are Caucasian, because there are some good people out there that really do stand up for justice. I mean, I have some great churches that work with us that really will stand arm in arm with me. And when we had the whole march on George Floyd, we had one of the largest demonstrations in a town called Ambler. And there were some good white folks, some good Hispanic folks, black folks, Asians, and we all got together and marched together. When they tried to build in front of Martin Luther King's mural right outside of 40th and Lancaster, we had white folks, black folks, and Asians. We got together and protested that together. So there are some good people. So we have to be very careful in our language, who we define as they, and as those that still have not gotten to a place where they have overcome their cultural determinism to say that, okay, because a person is of this color, then we're going to treat them like this, and then we also see them as this. And so that, I just want to kind of bring that clarity.
I
because that's
agree.
important. Yeah.
I agree as well. We have a quick comment. Okay. All right, Hey, Murder. How you doing, honey? Murder is the name that I read earlier, Nia. Yeah, change your name. If you don't know how to do it, Tia show you. Show me how to do it on my phone. We have a comment from ThePhilly4Horsemen. That's weird reading that. How is it going to matter to someone else if it doesn't matter to us? And then beautiful Be Lost said, we are still seen as less than a priority and more like their property. I reworded that so that it would come out correctly, but how does it matter? How's it ever going to matter to anybody else if it doesn't matter to us? Because we kill each other. And it won't ever matter to the they that we speak of if they still see us as their property.
Well, one of the problems that Black folks have, or some, not all, have, is that, I think because of how the upbringing has been even taken back to slavery, we always had to fight for our own. We always had to fight, for ourselves. We had to protect ourselves. And unfortunately, that is still carrying on, because you got to think of the older parents from back in the day who had children and how they were treated, and it passed on to that child, and it's just passing on from generation to generation as far as, just protecting yourself and protecting your own and not looking out for, others. I think that's, when I look at it, I think that's one of the problems, that, parents in back in the day generation never got that help, so they pass it on to the next generation, and that generation is just passing it on. But this is, once again, going back to what Ms. Lee said, that, the fights and the talks and the walks still have to go on, that the people in this generation who do want to see a change have to find that voice and stand up and do something different to where we can protect that younger generation that's coming up.
I think one of the challenges, though, is that the community we have lost our sense of community. I remember when I was growing up, if I did something 15 blocks away, by the time I got home,
Everybody knew about it.
My mama was already there with a switch, and now we have this idea: oh, don't mind your business. That's my child, or don't talk to my child like that. And so the sense of community has left, where that whole African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, no longer exists. But then also you have, particularly in our inner cities, you have this perpetual cycle of poverty. And so with poverty comes the lack of instruction. So if you have a single parent at home and that parent is working 2 and 3 jobs to try to make ends meet, that child is literally raising themselves and being raised by influences that teach them, just hold your own, get a gun, be part of a gang, and all those factors come into play. And so what they're being taught is, okay, I'm going to just kill, I'm going to take, I'm going to steal. And if they haven't been taught true values, and it's not necessarily the parent's fault, it's the economic system that forces that parent not to be present. And so therefore, if the parent is not present, then what happens is the child becomes raised by whatever environment they're in. And so you have a bunch of folks that have grown up now from this generation. We talk about from a spiritual concept is that a generation that knows not God, but also has no instruction and no guidance. And so now you have people literally, you have the black on black crime, you have people shooting each other, and we can yell, scream, and kick and holler, but there's also a lot of other factors that come into play. It's the economics, the educational system. I mean, the schools in Philadelphia right now, public schools, are 4 years behind. When someone graduates out of a public school in Philadelphia, they are 4 years behind their counterparts in the suburbs. And so they're going into college, having to take up courses to catch up, to try to get to a point where they are college material before they can even start doing college work. And so
We're stuck. You're absolutely right.
yeah, so that's something you have to deal with, is that those factors come into play when you're talking about why black on black crime happens, or why there's so many problems in our inner cities, is because of the fact that there is a breakdown of community, lack of education, the economic struggle of African Americans and minority parents.
What's absolutely amazing is all of the viewers that are tuning in tonight, we thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We read the comments so far, but what's amazing to me is for the last 4 weeks, some way, somehow, this is a topic that we have touched on.
I was thinking the
It's
same
absolutely amazing to me that you literally just, not verbatim, but for the most part, everything that Pretty Boy Day has been saying in reference to community and the children being raised in the way that they have been raised for the last 3 weeks, you just
I was
on each and
thinking
every
the
part
same
of it.
identical thing.
So I know that what we probably need to figure out what we're about to do about this community. But in reference to community, that's why Pastor Jenkins is here on tonight, because he came to share about his upcoming event with Chosen 300, which will involve the entire community. It needs to involve the entire state, if you ask me. But we want you to go ahead and share about that on tonight.
Absolutely. So on June the 10th, that's actually this upcoming Saturday, we have our 5-mile walk against homelessness. Works like any other walk. If you go on our website, you can print off the brochure. You can take that around to your job, your coworkers, your families, your friends. You ask them to donate money. You can even take it to your enemies, because if you ask your enemies to sponsor your walk, they'll do it to see if you're going to drop at the 5 miles. But anyway, it's a wonderful opportunity to raise money for the mission. And our mission is exactly what it has done. We serve the homeless and those that are less fortunate, both not only here in the Philadelphia region, but also around the world. There's 24 locations worldwide that we provide food and aid to those in need. So by walking, you can have a very powerful impact. And one of the things that you said is that you can walk throughout the state. You can actually walk throughout the world. And so we have it not only just physical, you can come to the walk on June 10th at mon.com in Park and Ambler, but also if you go on our website, chosen300.org, you can register online, and you will actually receive a personalized PayPal link that you can send to your friends and say, sponsor me in a walk. And you can walk in your community. You can walk. I got some people walking in Boston, New York, Virginia, and people are walking everywhere. I don't care if you walk around your refrigerator. What I need you to do,
Just walk.
I need you to walk.
You need to walk.
I need you to walk, but I need you to raise some money. In the words of the prophet Jerry Maguire, show us the money.
Show us the money. Come on, Prophet Maguire.
Yes, we do need your help, because by you raising money for our organization, you are helping us be the hands and feet of Jesus to be able to provide meals and services to those in need. And this is not, a week activity. This is something that we do 6 days a week year round, and that's 52 weeks a year. And then it's like I said, it's a global organization, Guyana, Jamaica, India, Nigeria, South Africa, Liberia, Uganda, Haiti, Kenya, Benin, Congo, Republic of Congo, Trinidad, and the United States. And I say those and I ramble them off like that because of the fact that every single month I got to write the checks for those countries to make sure that those funds are provided for. And one of the good thing about our organization is that I mentioned at an early broadcast is that we are voluntarily audited every year. And then we also are reviewed by the Pennsylvania Bureau of Charitable Organizations and American Baptist Churches USA. So we are overseen as much as possible to make sure that every single dime that you give to our organization is being used to help people and change people's lives.
That is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I'm having a pretty boy day moment. Y'all pray for me. Oh boy. Tania, tonight when we get off the show, she's going to post the flyer again.
Yes.
I need everybody that watches the Philly
Everybody.
4 Horsemen. I mean everybody.
Everybody.
Every single person. At the minimum, I need you all to give $5 to this organization so that we can, as the Philly 4 Horsemen, can sow into the lives of all of these people. It touches home for us this particular week because T has information that she's going to share in reference to her family. But I need everybody that is listening to the sound of my voice, everybody that's going to watch this later, everybody that's going to see the IG post, everybody that's going to see the Facebook post. When it is posted on tonight, and we will do it before midnight, you have my word. I need every single person that follows the Philly 4 Horsemen. If you ever believed in anything in your life, I need you to believe in this, and I need you to donate $5. Every single person. $5 is your minimum. Pastor is saying higher, higher, higher. I'm saying that's your minimum. I need a minimum of $5. If you can do more than that, because I know that the world that we live in right now with inflation and everything like that, sometimes some weeks are good and some weeks are bad. Some weeks are awesome and some weeks we crying. But at the end of the day, if you help somebody else, if you feed God's people, when we do what God says for us to do and do what his kingdom work, it's a different situation. So your $5 could actually turn into $500 if you bless the life of somebody else. So I need everybody, I'm gonna say it one more time, that's under the sound of my voice, that's watching on tonight and may watch later, whatever it is that you're doing, by midnight, we will have it up. The link will be up. I need you to sow $5 into the lives of these people for this awesome ministry of Chosen 300.
I just want to say, for people, when you see someone on the street that's homeless, don't always judge that person for being homeless. There's people who become homeless due to either one, they feel like they have no other choice. Two, it could be a mental problem. We don't know what caused someone to be homeless. And I'm going to try to talk on this without getting too emotional. So before May 19th, we had already knew that Pastor Jenkins was coming on the show, and we were going to talk about this. All things happen for a reason, that he's here now. And with this being so sentimental to me, due to the fact that I lost my uncle on May 19th to homelessness. My uncle chose that lifestyle because he felt as though, for whatever reason, that was the best for him. He was not love any different because of it. I say all this just to say once again that when you driving, when you're walking past, every homeless person is not doing it because they chose to. Every homeless person is not doing it because they just want to be out on the street collecting money. Some people are truly doing it because they feel like that may be their way. So if you can sow, if you can be a part of this walk, I'm asking, along with Heather and along with the pastor, to be there, stand up. We all may have someone in our family that is living a homeless lifestyle. And there's people out here in the world who is trying to help them in whichever way and capacity that they can. So even with Chosen 300, just, doing all that they're doing and giving food back, that is helping that person that's on the street, and they can't do it alone, and they need everyone help. So, once again, the link will be up later on tonight, and we just ask everyone that is watching now and watching later to go ahead and sow that seed in whichever amount that fits best for you. But as Heather Jenkins said, nothing less than $5.
Is this a call? We got to take a call.
We got to take a call, Heather.
Oh, all right. Let's see.
Caller.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, caller.
Y'all know this is our first time doing this. We don't.
Caller. All righty.
Well, call back because apparently it's not working. We would like to talk
It
to
is
you.
on Bluetooth.
Well, they talking to us in our ear, so that don't have nothing to do with y'all. So I'm gonna move on to the next thing. I just wanted to say, Chosen 300 is an amazing ministry.
Okay,
they call them back. Let's see.
We go try this again.
We're gonna try it again.
Hello, caller. We are not getting anything on this end from the caller.
Supposed to press that?
No, the Bluetooth is on. That means it's connected to where we should be able to hear them.
Why I gotta mess up?
So
when
if the
we on show?
angel or Pretty Boy Day want to come and try to help us with this,
Y'all can sure come rescue us as I go back to talking about Chosen 300. We have spent 3 Christmases. Oh, they don't want me to tell my story.
Oh, they hung up.
We have spent 3 Christmases with Chosen 300. T and I both have children, and we get up and we get ourselves together and look like people, and we come out early in the morning and serve at Chosen 300 every year for Christmas.
Yes.
We've done it for Thanksgiving. Last year you guys helped us with the toy drive.
Yes.
You guys gave enough that we were able to drop off a little over $100 worth of toys, and y'all did that in 2 weeks. So y'all better get ready for this year because we need to make sure we at least quadruple that much. Pastor Jenkins, I want to ask you, do you, in all the years that you have done it, in all the sacrifices that you have made, and everything that you have put together, would you change any of it?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's rewarding. I wake up every morning knowing that I have purpose. I mean, it's taxing. Don't get me wrong. It's hard work. I mean, I was sharing with someone this morning. Today, I finally got to bed about 1 o'clock this morning. I was back up at 6, doing it all over again, and I'll probably get back home probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock tonight. But it's a calling, and it's different when you're going to a job every day. I wake up going to a calling and knowing that this is my purpose. This is what God has called me to do. And I love what he has turned this work into. And I always say that he gets the glory for it. This is not me. This is him working through me. And I'm glad that he's chose me to use me as a vessel. But that's all I am. He is the everything in this ministry. And as long as we continue to give him glory, continue to use us. And so we're excited just to see what God has done. And we have a long ways to go. We're always looking at a way to build and to add. The next venture is to build our subsidized housing unit, which is in our West Philadelphia location. We just acquired the land. And so the goal is to build that so that way that people, after they, go through their homeless period, that now they can move to that next step where they can have affordable housing. And so real affordable housing. I'm not talking about the city's affordable housing. I'm talking about affordable housing that people actually can afford to live in. And so, that is our goal, to be able to move people forward and so that they can take that next step in life. I love what Chosen 300 does. I wake up in the morning and I breathe, sleep, eat Chosen 300 because it's what God's called us to do.
That's absolutely amazing.
So, Pastor Jenkins, do you have any advice that you can give to anyone that may be watching or listening who have a family member that is homeless, to kind of help them rebuild their life back?
Well, first of all, it's like, a lot of times we try to make people get to that place. And we'll get discouraged because, okay, they didn't change at the time frame that we did. But for each person, a level of success is different. You might think that them living in a community room where, they have to share a bathroom, it's like, oh God, they're just not moving and, getting their own apartment. But for them, That's a huge step. And so it's really just giving people that opportunity to move forward in the step. Their step might be, I got my ID, or that step might be, I got my record clean. So you have to let them take the steps along their journey and just be supportive, and realize is that they're not going to change their lives overnight. You just have to be there for them. I always use the example of the man at the pool of Bethesda. He was there for 38 years. And he says, no one put me into the pool. But then Jesus came by and was able to help him get up.
All right, our caller is trying for a fourth time, so hopefully we're successful. Hello, caller.
Hello, hello, hello. What's going
Oh,
on,
I actually hear
baby?
something.
There you are. How
This
are you,
pretty boy
caller?
day, pretty boy day.
Pretty boy. All right.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
listen, so I have a question. So for those of us who does not have any money, we have nothing to contribute, but our heart is in the right place. What is it we can do to help out with your movement?
So you can always serve. If you go into our website at chosen300.org, you can click on volunteer hours, and you can come and serve anytime. Um, I listen to what you're saying, though. And when people say that I don't have anything to give, I just ask you to just look inside with reality, because all of us, regardless and I'll give you an example. On Sunday mornings, we have worship for those that are homeless and impoverished, and we don't stand up there with a basket and ask people to give an offering. But what we do is we have a box in the back, and we teach people that, just so that they can have a sense of normality, not so that we can get money, but as a sense of more normality, is that, okay, everybody has something to give, and we teach tithing. And if you made $10, give your dollar. Okay. And so I really believe that everybody has something to give, whether that's a dime, whether it's a penny, whether it's a quarter, as Ms. Jenkins here said, $5, or you might be that person that has a capacity to give 1,000. But all of us have something to give. But then also, like I said, you can also give your time.
So that means for those who smoke
Okay.
cigarettes, if you got to sacrifice a pack of cigarettes, sacrifice a pack of cigarettes. For those who is a junk eater, if you got to sacrifice your junk for the day,
I mean, give up that
sacrifice your junk.
Snickers, you know? A
Exactly.
Snickers is $1.
I think it's actually more than $1.
Right, I think it is. And they don't even sell the small ones anymore. You have to buy the king size. They don't even let you
Yeah,
get the
it's
small ones. You gotta buy the
$2.25
king
now.
size.
See,
Well, at
there
least
you
in the
go.
Wawa
It's
where I live.
$2.25 for a Snickers.
$2.25.
So if you got to give up that Snicker, give up that Snicker.
So what
25
about as
help.
far as the walk is concerned? How can someone contribute and help out with the walk that if they're not able to actually walk because of health purposes or anything of the sort?
So there's a couple of things. One, the place where we're walking is actually it's a 5 mile walk, but it's a 1 mile lap track, and also you can actually cut through. So even if you can walk, whatever, half a mile or a quarter of a mile, you can always cut through the park and not have to walk the full length, whether it's a full mile or the full 5 miles. So, and then like I said, there's some people that are walking virtually, where they're walking around their block, or some people are walking in the living room or in their treadmill or whatever. But everybody can participate in some way. And the key is to really help raise money for the mission. And if you go on our website at chosen300.org, you can click on the registration. And once you register, you'll get a personalized PayPal link. And although you might not be able to give individually, everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that can give. And if you blast it out on your Facebook page, your Instagram, your social media, send out an email blast, text out all your friends on your phone and say, listen, I'm walking in the walk. Would you sponsor me in the walk? That is an outstanding way to raise money for the mission. And you might not be able to give a dime, but you can encourage other people to do so.
Awesome. I thank you so much, sir. I love what you're doing, and please continue.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. One of the things that you said, one of the greatest things that we have in this world that is not monetary is time. Time is the most precious thing. So even if you cannot participate in the walk, taking time to go down and volunteer at Chosen 300, it'll change your perspective of life. As he said in the beginning of the show, I've led praise and worship there, and I've had some of the best church at Chosen 300
It's raw.
than I've had at
Raw church.
places where I've sang in front of hundreds and hundreds
Yes.
of people. Their hearts are open and their hearts are pure. It's a vertical worship. They just want to come have an intimate moment with God, then they're allowed to have their meal. And that's why I said it changes your perspective. The fact that you found out that I could even sing was because we were in the building that particular day.
And just hold on, let me tell y'all. The girl, somebody else was singing. She walked in and took over the service from the door to church. No microphone whatsoever. And
She was
just
back in the
told
corner.
her-
She was in the corner,
it was
wasn't
in
she?
the corner.
She was back, yeah.
Yes, in a packed room, just standing by the door. And this voice, I said, where's that voice? Where is that coming from? I mean, she just, blew and just blessed our socks off. I says, get a number, because she gonna come down and help out a little bit. But one of the things that you said is real valuable is that it's rewarding because of the fact that it's church where people are worshiping God because he is, not because of what he gave them, not because of what they're anticipating, but simply because of the very existence of God. And that's where Psalms 95 comes into place. It says, come, let us worship and bow down and let's kneel before the Lord God, our maker, because he's our God and we are the people of his pasture and the sheep of his hand. That's it. Not because we're praising him on credit. Not because we're praising him because he did something. No, just because he's God. And that's the experience that we have down there at Chosen 300 on Sunday morning. And you just enhanced that so well with your amazing, beautiful voice.
I appreciate you
Yes.
so much. But that's what happened. I was standing in a room and it was Christmas and they were singing, "Oh, come let us adore."
Yeah.
So not only is that one of my favorite Christmas songs, but because it was so pure, I forgot where I was. I totally forgot where I was. I went into a whole different place in my own personal worship. And when I opened my eyes, this man is like, sing it again, sing it again, sing it again. And I'm like, oh, I did that out loud.
Yes, you did.
But you want to know
Oh my goodness. But it was because it was pure, it was a pure place. People just with their hands lifted, worshiping God for who he is. And not because of what he does. It's that part.
And for me, one of the things that I got from it and I enjoyed was the fact of seeing these people. The house was filled, and you have people who, is living this lifestyle, and no matter of the lifestyle that they were living in, they didn't forget. They didn't forget that, at the end of the day, there is a God, and they came there so pure and open and praised and stood up and sung. And, they did their prayers and they were so polite and they were so thankful for everything that they were receiving that day. It was nobody in there who had a bad attitude, who gave you no type of, talk to you wrong, a tone different. It was just pure, genuine love and just, I guess, their way of just saying thank you. And even if it wasn't saying thank you to us in their way, they was saying thank you to Jesus because they was up and they was just it. I loved it.
I had experience in Guyana, South America, and there was a house that we went by, windows were blown out, and these three little girls came out. And I asked the pastor, I says, can we buy groceries for that family? And he said, sure, but can you help one other family in our church? And so we drove down this long, dark road and came to this one-room shack on 4 stilts. And there was a young lady with her 6 brothers and sisters that came out named Nathalie. Now, earlier we saw her at church jumping and worshiping God, but she came out. Her mother had died of cancer, and her father was struggling just to keep the family together. But out of this one-room shack with no electric, no power, no gas, this 18-year-old girl came out and we gave her groceries. And at that moment, I says, now I know what worship is. I mean, I've been to seminary, I've been, to church all my life. But at that moment, I learned what worship was, that is worshiping God just because of his very existence, that he is our creator God. And when we get to the place where we learn what true worship is, not praising him for his stuff, but thanking him just because he is God, then we have come to the full realm of worship. And that's what we experience at Chosen 300, not here, just in here in Philadelphia, but all around the world. We see that on a daily basis when we see children standing in line for deworming pills because they have worms in their bodies and their families are worshiping God. And when we see people living in huts that are made of grass and wood chips and mud and no toilets, but they still worship God. That's what teaches us what we worship. Our Americanized Christianity praises God for stuff, I've learned that people in poverty learn to worship God just because he is.
So speaking on homelessness, so I don't know if you experienced this or ran across this yet, but do you know of information for anyone who has a family member who passes away that is homeless? Is there any resources, or do Chosen 300 have any resources that can help a family that has to bury a loved one who was homeless?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One, we offer our services, like, from Chosen 300. If a person is genuinely homeless, has no resources, we will provide those services for free. We've been hoodwinked before too. I've had people call me and says, "Oh, we poor, we can't afford nothing," and then they show up in a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter with a full limousine behind them and hearse, and you paid the funeral director $10,000-$15,000 because they had insurance that you didn't want to tell us about, and then you took advantage of the church. and people do that. But on the same token is that if a person generally doesn't have anything, we have done memorial services for free because and not charge them anything. We've even paid the musician because of the fact that we want to make sure that we're a church that our doors are remaining open to be able to serve the community. But then also there's a wonderful number that I encourage, and it's just not for this, but 211 is the social services hotline for the state of Pennsylvania. And that number is really good for pretty much any need that you have, that you can call that number and say, I'm in this circumstance. Is there an agency that provides that? Now, we have resources too, and people can always stop in our office and we will guide them through the process. We have case managers to help them out with that. We don't provide every service, so I'll just be transparent, but we do collaborate with a lot of organizations that do. Like we don't do IDs, but we have an organization that works with us to help get people's ID restored. We have expungement programs where we have lawyers that come in and get people's records clean. So there's a lot of services that we do provide, and the ones that we don't, we try to connect them with those services. But again, we're here for the community, and we're here for homeless people. The death of homeless people is really tragic for a lot of people because of the fact that when they die, oftentimes their families don't know. And so they're often left abandoned. And so we try to be there for them to be able to provide an avenue where they can get some decency in their departure. My brother was serving in the military for 20 years. When he retired, he left the military, died 1 year later because of the fact he did not know how to adapt to civilian life and did not know how to get the services that he needed for health care. And then we found out later on that he had died, and then we, of course, got his remains back. But so many families deal with those same challenges with people entering into homelessness or people entering into poverty or coming out of the military or prison or wherever it is, and just don't know how to adjust and don't know how to access resources.
So I have a question, and I'm not sure if you can answer this question, but one of the things that I have ran into, even with my uncle's situation, is everything goes back to cremation. Why is it that when it comes to a homeless person, all resources, or not all most resources, is cremation?
Well, because the cost of burial is just tremendous. And the reality is that just to get a casket, caskets can run anywhere from whatever, 700 to 10,000 just for a casket. You got to open up that grave. That costs money. So cremation is often the alternative, not just for people that are homeless, but people just can't afford funerals and people who are without life insurance. And I tell everybody all the time is that we have so many people in our communities that don't have proper life insurance. You go buy $200 and $300 sneakers, but you don't have a life insurance policy. And when you die, and I hate to say this in this context, but the black person's insurance policies GoFundMe, and it doesn't make any sense. I've had family members that have had thousands and thousands of dollars of Christmas presents, and you're issuing me a Christmas present. No, give me an insurance policy that says that we can bury you when you die, or else I'm gonna burn you up and put you in the park. Because I'm not paying for your funeral. That's not my job. I take care of me and mine when it comes to funerals. But every person should be responsible on it. But as far as homeless people are concerned, is that they don't have the resources, and that is the unfortunate result that cremation is the direction. But even in the Bible, it does talk about bodies being burned. When you read 1 Corinthians 13, it says, though I give my body to be burned and give all my goods to the poor and have not love, it profit me nothing. So it shows that someone giving their body to be burned was an act of charity, not necessarily an act of need. And so there's nothing wrong with cremation, because at the end of the day is that when Jesus comes back, and he says, and the dead in Christ shall be raised first, and we which are alive remain shall be caught up to meet him in the air. And so no matter where our stuff is, I believe that God can bring all that back together. And, we show our souls are going to rise and be back with the Lord. Our spirit has already returned to the Lord. That's a whole theological dissertation, but the reality is that God's got all this covered under control.
And she looks at me. Okay. Well, the title tonight was Hope for Our City. The segue was, our city is hurting, what can we do? We've discussed homelessness. We've discussed the senseless death. We've discussed, they were yelling at me the whole time. I can't hear nothing in my headphones. Anyway, we've discussed homelessness and the senseless deaths. There's a drug epidemic in the city of Philadelphia that is so out of control that it doesn't compute in my mind. Right before we got on the show tonight, my brother called and I told y'all heard me take the call. And I said, I gotta call you back. And he texted me and said, check your messages later. Someone that I know that is close to me OD'd this morning. And he's gone. Because people feel like they have no hope. People feel like that's the only answer. People are not dealing with, again, going back to the topics that we've been discussing for the last couple of weeks, childhood traumas, not dealing with the root of the problem, numbing the problem instead of dealing with the problem. So, Pastor, before we close out tonight, if you could give a word to the city of Philadelphia, even though we may not have that many people watching, but at some point, that's where we'll be. If you could give a word to the city of Philadelphia on hope, the hope for our city, what is it that we can do outside of what we've been doing to create a positive change in the city of Philadelphia?
Well, I think first and foremost, and I have to put my pastor hat on here, is that I believe that hope comes through Christ, and I really believe that. I know that there are so many different faiths, so many different avenues for people to obtain goodness per se, but I believe that Christ in us is the hope of glory, and I think that if the church comes outside of the four walls, and we can look to government all we want. Government does not have the answer. We have the answer through the gospel of Jesus Christ to give people hope for their journey, but also not only just giving them the Bible, not only just giving them the gospel, giving them the avenues to get up, to actually be there for people. We have to provide the services. We have to restore our educational system, and that's key. I think we need to get back to the place where we are building schools again for ourselves. There's an old saying is that, there was an old man that was talking about these young guys, and he says, well, why do you like to be called Negro? He says, let me tell you something. Negroes build schools. Negroes build hospitals. Negroes build a lot of different things. I haven't seen black people build too many things. And there was a time then we got together as community and we put our money together and says we're going to build schools for our people to make sure that they got quality education. We can yell, kick, and scream about how they want to eliminate our history, but what are we doing about it? And so I think it's critical that we not only service the person's spirit, their mind, their body, and help people get up and have hope for their journey. But then we also got to get back into our communities and realize is that it takes the community to raise these children. and be there for them. We need that, big mama that used to sit on the
Nana.
porch. Yeah, used to sit on the porch, and I remember, when I was growing up, I used to cut lawns, and that old lady would sit on the porch and says, "Boy, you're gonna be something," and our young people need that same encouragement today, and so it takes that community to be able to raise that child, and so we just have to transition back to our old ways and what we used to do. And not have this individualistic approach to say that I'm going to take care of my child myself. You can't do it by yourself. You do need the community.
Yes. I want to be able to make sure that we acknowledge everyone that shares on the show. So, Star, I want to read Star's comment. It was back when we were discussing what can we do for our children. He said that the recreational centers are closing, and there's nowhere for the youth to go to learn, to play sports, and to be safe. So that ties into what Pastor just said. Saida chimed in and was just commenting on the fact that cremation is less costly. It's different between exactly what Pastor said, $700 and $2,500 for funeral packages, and the cost to break the ground open. So that's the reason why so many people are pushing you towards cremation, because just breaking the ground open, forget the casket,
Oh, I know.
it's the breaking of the
Oh,
ground.
I know. It's $1,500.
Yes, and then Miss Saida came back and said, we have to realize that it's more money in sickness and addictions than it is in healing and recovery. That's why it's important for prayer, for true unity, healing, forgiveness, love amongst us all. And as she always does, she graces us with such great
Words, yes.
words of encouragement. We thank you for that, Saida. We thank you. Oh, hey, Sammy. Sipping with Sammy is tuning in. Hey, Sammy, so good to see you on the live on tonight. So before we go and give you all of these platforms and our business highlights and things of that nature, I want to say thank you so much to Pastor Jenkins of Chosen 300 for coming. We so greatly appreciate you spending your time with us. We are excited that we are partnered with you, and that won't change for a long, long time.
Ever.
And if
We're,
there's
we're like the firm. You can't leave.
and if there's anyone who may come up with some questions later that you may have for Pastor Jenkins in regard to Chosen 300 or homelessness, you can also reach out to him. Go on the website,
Chosen300.org.
and you can also send him a message there if for whatever reason you chose not to have called in or made a comment today. So now to get to the end, which is the business highlights. As you should know, I believe on the screen you should see.
Well, I want to point, where we point at?
They
Down
pretty
here?
boy, pretty
Down
boy,
here, up here, wherever it is. Y'all
It's
see it
either
on the
down
screen?
here or up here, one of the two.
It's
Down at
somewhere.
the
Y'all
bottom.
see it.
Angel, is it up above or is point to the screen?
Point to the screen.
Point to the screen. Now point down.
Right there.
All right, you will see all the business platform for Beyond Expectation events, for Sky's the Limit closing, and not just desserts. Also, once again, for the platforms for Philly4Horsemen, you can find us on Facebook at Philly4Horsemen Podcast, Instagram at Philly4Horsemen, also on TikTok at Philly4Horsemen, and on YouTube, Philly4 Horseman Podcast. And if you would like to be on the show, have any questions, comments, or a discussion, a topic that you want us to discuss, or business that you would like to highlight, you can email us at podcast4horsemen@gmail.com.
All right. You got any shout outs you want to shout out?
I just want to give a shout out to everybody who has been following our journey from either day 1, day 2, day 30, or whatever day that you became a part. Continue to follow, like, subscribe, and share, and get the rest of your people to join this journey with us.
You got any shout outs, Spencer?
Oh, absolutely. Look, Walk Against Homelessness, June 10th, Mondock Common Park, Amarillo, Pennsylvania, 9 a.m. Make sure you register online at chosen300.org. You can also give at chosen300.org or Cash App, $chosen300. So thank you so much for your support.
Awesome. I just want to give a quick shout out to my babies if they had a chance to tune into YouTube to see mommy on the YouTube. I'm on YouTube, babies. Hi, babies. I love you. I love you so
One
much.
last thing that I wanted to say, just in case, and I found out that the pastor did not know this. Also, purple, which I decided to wear today,
know.
is the color for
I did not
homelessness
know.
as
I
well.
did not know.
So I'm rocking my purple for my Uncle Craig, and
go.
for anybody else out there that is dealing with homelessness.
Well, me and Uncle got on blue.
Well, rest well to Onk. He will surely be
Yes.
missed. Shout out to all of our viewers. We thank you so much for tuning in with the ladies of the Philly 4 Horsemen. Nobody does it better than Heather J and 1010.
Hey.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
we
But
gotta
before
do-
we go, you know we gotta do what we gotta do.
We gotta do what we
1, 2, 3.
Woo! And we do it better.